What's going on, guys? Rodent44 back with another video idea that's probably going to be a boring hunk of nothingness, but we're going to do it anyways because I literally have nothing better to do and it's raining outside and I have a bunch of stuff I need to model. So let's model a cabin. How's that for an intro? Anyways, let's take a look at today's subject. This cabin here on Safari Lake in Alaska. So this is going to be part of the upcoming 25-mile and Limber Lake airstrips I'm doing for Microsoft Flight Simulator. This is Safari Lake, which is the big lake right next door, and I need to do some more cabins for it. So through my research, I've found a couple of cabins through various photos and various areas of research, mostly including Facebook. Because people like to post photos of their cabins. No, not really. These backcountry strips are really hard to find good resources for, and you have to do a lot of digging to find anything. And a lot of the models I end up making are actually just, other cabins I find local to the area or in other spots that I just base a design off of. Very rarely do I get the opportunity to actually see what an actual cabin looks like and to try to come up with a similar design to it, even though it's never going to be 100%. And I kind of like it that way anyways, because it lets me have a little bit of creative freedom with it. But yeah, so this is the cabin we're going to be focusing on today. This is the one and only photo of it, so this is all we're going to have to go by. What we see right now is what we get. Anything else that we come up with along the way is just going to be part of our creative leisure on the model. So first and foremost, I got to get some tunes rolling here, because if I do not have something rolling in the background, well, this is just going to be a very boring video filled with lots of silent gaps. So let's get something a little fast-paced. Today we're going to be modeling in Blender, as we always do. And the very first thing you always do in Blender is you load the startup file, you highlight everything, you delete it, and as soon as you do that, Shift-C to go back to center, and then you add the cube back that you just deleted. I like to start off by getting the base of the cube level with the base here. This makes it a little bit easier to design as I model. And then we're just going to go ahead and do apply all transforms, so our reference point goes to the bottom there. Alright. I also have this file here. So this is a little trick I started doing, something I should have done a long time ago, but I never got around to doing. But I'm doing now, just because it makes life a lot easier, is I have a Blender file completely dedicated to common model parts that I may use throughout my models. That's anything from windows to doors to chimneys, lights, stairs, and some other pieces that I've started adding in there as well. Just anything I find that I'm making or using a lot of, it's so much easier to just go in here, pull from this source, make some adjustments to it if I need to, than it is to build it from scratch literally every time. If you do something similar to this, you're going to be saving yourself a lot of time in the long run. So basically what we're going to be looking at, as I throw the photo back up here, is we need to start figuring out the scale of this building. And there's two ways you can go about doing this. You can do it either by looking at a top-down satellite view and measuring, like in Google Earth or Bing Maps, whatever. Or, if you have a photo of the building like this, I know what the size of a standard door is. I have a standard door model. I can literally just throw a door in there, and I can eyeball it. So that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to grab a door. I do not see a window or anything on this because it's a solid color, so we're going to say it's a solid white door. So let's get our file back up here, and we are going to grab our solid door right here. So we're just going to copy and paste into this file. We got our door. We'll go ahead and rotate her around here to 90 degrees, punch in 90 degrees. And I already have all these pre-rigged, so if I go to the side here, we can see where the door frame is. So this door frame here would fit up flush against the building. We got our point right here. But that's just a Blender thing, even if it did. We'll notice, as I do windows later on, you'll notice that some of those windows will probably flicker in Blender, but they will not flicker in the sun. Alright, so... you know what? I just realized this entire time I did not change my screen capture. Well, I hope you guys had fun the last, like, 6 minutes looking at the exact same freaking screen. Yeah, we'll do better at that.
Are you sure about that?
Anyways, yeah, back on the screen we were just on. What a noob move, man. We're just going to take a look at the cabin here, and what we're doing right now is I'm just kind of eyeballing the gaps on either side of the door between like the door and the window, and mostly the gap between the edge of the building and the right hand side of the door frame. So we're going to grab our door here, turn off snapping just so we're not doing anything stupid with that, and close up that gap just a little bit. We don't really care too much. We do have those white panels on each corner, so we need to account for those. That's probably good, I would say. We're not caring too much about it being symmetrical right now, but we will fix that here in a minute. And then what we're doing is we're going to go in here, edit this. We're going to switch the view, like I said I was going to do a minute ago. At least I caught it this time. And we're going to stretch this out just so it gives us some working space. And then we're going to go back over to this, where our file is at here, and it's an elongated window, if we remember from the photo. So I'm just going to take one of my basic windows here that's already kind of set up that way, and we'll copy it, come back over to our main Blender project, and we'll paste it there. Rotate by -90 degrees. Actually, that should have been +90 degrees. So we'll just go by -180 now. Easy fix. And we're going to get this flush on, so we're going to do it by center on the face. Snap to. Turn that back off. And basically I'm just looking to make sure that it actually did in fact snap to the edge, which it did. Then we're going to go back over to our photo here, and we're going to take a look at this. And we're just going to kind of eyeball the size of the window as compared to the door. It looks like the top of the door and the top of the window frame are pretty much flush. So we're going to plan on that as being the case in our model. So let's go ahead and we'll move up. We'll just move that over just to get it so it's not overlapping. We'll turn snapping back on the closest. We'll snap to the top of the door frame here so they're flush. And this window actually looks like it's about the right scale already. So we're just going to increase the gap between the door and the window. And I'm just eyeballing the photo on my other screen here, and that looks to be about right. And you know, there's not really that much of a gap over on this side. So we'll do something like that. And that gives us about the correct width of our building. Now, next we're going to start looking at what we need to do for the peak of the building. And I'm basically looking at where the the triangular part, the peak of the roof starts. I'm looking for that rectangular area where that ends, and looking at basically how much gap I have between the top of the window and that. So yeah, we got about maybe a little bit more than the gap between the door and the window, about twice that maybe. So we'll just kind of eyeball it. Yeah, maybe down a little bit actually. Something like that feels pretty good, actually. Okay, we're going to roll with that. And before we get too carried away with like doing our peak and stuff and getting started on that aspect of it, we're actually going to take and we're going to start placing windows along the side of the building as well, so we can get our depth of the building correct. And then once we have the dimensions we want of this base piece here, we'll go back through and we'll start making the peak for the roof and doing all that. So I always like doing the windows and the doors first, just because that gets you your scale set up correctly. So we'll go back into our little file here, and as we saw in our image, our windows are more vertical than they are wide. So we'll just take a look at, let's see, actually I don't see, that looks like it's just an open window there. This one may have whatever the hell you call the cross thing that goes through it. That one may have that, like this style here, right? But I don't think that's the case for all of them. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and grab it's so hard to tell. I think I'm just going to do open windows for all of them. I don't think I'm going to have any of this stuff in there. So we'll just take these windows right here. Gotta remember what the difference is. One of them's taller than the other, so let's check scale. Yeah, we'll probably go with the top window. That's going to be the closest. And we're going to modify these probably a little bit anyways. So back over to our working Blender file. Get that straightened out, and actually we're not working on that side, so we'll turn it 90 degrees again. Get it on that side of the building, and pull it that direction. And we're just going to do face project, center, snap to that wall. And we need to make sure that we align to the top of the door frame as well, so we stay the same height going all the way around the building. So we'll do closest. We'll snap to that. And we'll just kind of look at the side here. Yep, it's correct. I'm going to go back and look at that photo one more time. Yeah, I think we're just going to do an open style. So I'm going to take that bar out of the center. So we'll just have something like that. And we're going to make this window a little bit wider. So we need to make sure we grab all the model parts. We'll go into side view here, vertice select mode, and we'll toggle X-ray on. So we make sure we grab all the vertices. And once again, we'll just eyeball it, snapping off. Yeah, that feels about right to me. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I never try to go for 100% accurate modeling in any of my models. I just want them to be close. If you sit there all day trying to make it extremely accurate, you're going to waste so much time. Now, obviously you want to strive for accuracy, but there's a certain point where it's like you don't need to be modeling every single bolt or having the window exactly to scale. If it looks correct, it's good enough. Move on. So now we're going to tweak that just a little bit more. It looks to be about the right gap. I'm going to go ahead and grab this and just extend it back quite a bit. Grab this window again. Hit Shift D and then Enter to duplicate it. And I'm just looking at the gap between the two. It looks to be about right. And then we'll go back and we'll grab that again. And actually, the gap between, so the windows look to be evenly spaced from like the front of the building to the back of the building. So we'll do we'll do a little something something here. We'll click there, we'll just spawn in a cube. Scale her on down. Zoom into it. And I'm going to turn on edge snapping again, make sure it's set the closest. We'll snap to that edge. And we'll snap it to that edge. Then we'll move it all the way over here. Snap it to that edge. And then we snap it to that edge. And now it's perfectly spaced. Alright, so we got our windows on the side, and we got the rough shape of our cabin now. So now that we've done the front and the side, all the dimensions are right. We can do the roof now if we'd like to before we place more windows, which I do think I'm going to do just real quick. So we'll go back into edit mode on this piece. We're going to do a loop cut up the center of it. So just right click to drop it at its spawn point. And then we'll go in the front view here. And I'm just going to take a look at the actual peak of the building. And I'm just going to eyeball it and try to get roughly about the same pitch of the roof. Roughly the same angle. We'll roll something like that for now. And we're going to place, if we go back and we look at the photo, we see that we got that window on the top. And it seems to be a square window. So we're going to place a window there. And we'll kind of see how everything fits. I can kind of see how much of a gap there is between the top left corner of the window and the underside of the roof. We'll try to eyeball that, as well as the distance from the top of this window down here to the bottom of the top window. And we'll just try to go for a peak that works. I think what we'll do is we're going to grab this window right here, because this is the closest one to it. And it is extended a little bit, but we'll shorten that up if we have to. It's actually, I think, pretty close to a square. I can look at the dimensions here. Yeah, it's a little bit taller than it is wide, but we can always adjust that if we need to. So we're going to go ahead and paste this window in. Yeah, we're just eyeballing it. And it looks about right. And actually, you know, the gap between the two windows looks pretty correct already. It's maybe a little bit. Let's see here. What do we have for 1.29, 1.32? We can, like, oops, don't have that selected. Make sure we grab all the pieces. Vertice select mode. Maybe do like 0.05 maybe. That'll give us a little bit more gap. It makes it a little bit more squared off. It's actually not a square. It's a little bit less than a true square now, but it still looks correct. And our gap between the corners and the edge will be the edge of the underside of our roof. Still look good. So we're going to roll with that. Alright, let's fix the orientation of this. So I am going to grab those faces there. Actually, I could just grab this one right here because it's down the center anyways. We're going to do Shift S, hold that down, cursor to selected. And then we're going to do add empty plane axes. And just grab everything in our collection here. Hold down Shift and drag over the empty. Parent it. Then we'll take our empty here. I want to say 0, 0. And now the building will be perfectly symmetrical. Anything that we place on one side, we could easily mirror to the other side. There won't be any weird gaps or anything like that. But we don't need this parented anymore. And actually, before we do that, let's rotate this model. We're just going to use this. 180 degrees. That way I can stop typing in the wrong values. Select everything, Alt-P, clear and keep transforms. And we don't need that empty anymore, so we can get rid of that. And we make sure we save. Alright. Now we have a model that's starting to look like the cabin in question. So really at this point, I'm really asking myself, what do I want to do for the sides of the buildings I can't see? And this is where you got to get a little bit creative. And I'm thinking what I want to do for the back of the building, I think I want to I want to do 2 windows like we have on the side here. For the back of the building, we're going to move them in closer, so there's a little bit of gap between them, evenly space them on the left and right hand sides. Maybe for the side of the building that we can't see, I'll just throw like one of those windows on there. Like, maybe we'll do it like near the front or something like that. I could very well just make it be absolutely nothing there. What I'm kind of going by is, if I'm looking at what's helped me make this decision, is what I mean to say, is I'm looking at this vegetation right here. If you have a window near the back here, which doesn't really make sense for the back of the cabin if you think about it, but if you have this window here on the side at the back, you just have a wall of vegetation there. Dense vegetation, so you're not going to see really anything out of that. But forward here, you got a little bit of open area, so we're going to put a window up forward, just because it makes a little bit more sense to do so. How many times am I going to do this? How many times am I going to do this in one period? If you've left this video already, I don't blame you, because this is absolute freaking trash. But hey, you know, we're still here. We're still pressing forward, because I still got to do this cabin either way. We're not doing a retake, man. I'm not doing that shit over again. Even though it's pretty straightforward, but still, it's been 32 minutes. Face project, center, snap to the face, and then we'll turn that off for now. What I want to do is I want to duplicate this again, and I'm just going to focus on kind of what type of gap or spacing I want between the 2 windows. Yeah, let's try something like that, maybe. I don't know. And there's different ways that you can go about doing this here, but what I am going to do in this case to center the windows is I'm going to use an empty again. We're going to grab those 2 and we'll do cursor to selected, and then click the right tab first, empty, plain axes, and then we're going to take these windows here, select them, and we're going to drop it into that empty. Vertice select again to center, turn snapping on, and we'll click on that vertice. Alright, so I guess a little bit of a recap from what you guys didn't see. I don't know how much you guys didn't see, but we rotated the building around 180 degrees, obviously. We took this window here and we mirrored it to the left-hand side. It's by putting a mirror modifier on right here, mirror. And then I duplicated the back window, moved it around to this face, spread them out how I wanted them, and now we have them centered, and it is inside of, or parented to, this empty. So we'll do a Alt-P, clear and keep transforms. Yeah, this is the part where I just spin it around for a second. Try to think if there's any adjustments I want to make to anything, if I'm happy with how things sit, with how things look. It's easy enough to go back and make changes here later too. I think I'm happy with what I have. So let's go ahead and let's just do a roof real quick. And to do that, we're just going to select the building. We'll select the roof, hit P, split by selection. Then we'll go into edit mode. And this is a plugin I'm using here. I don't remember what the heck it's called. I could probably figure that out in a second. If I do add-ons, we'll do enabled add-ons. I think it's Edit Mesh Tools, if I remember right. It's one of these. I'm pretty sure it's Edit Mesh Tools is what I'm using here. But I just select the faces in face select mode and do edge, offset edges, extrude. And make sure we follow face, and then I can just set the depth basically to whatever I want it to be. And in this case, we're gonna kind of just eyeball it a little bit, and we may try to do like 0.4. I don't know, because this one's got a pretty shallow roof on it. If I go back over, I look at it, there's not a big gap there at the front of the roof, and the sides don't look like there's a huge gap either. So we're just trying to get something kind of similar to that, and 0.4 meters looks pretty darn close. Maybe a little much. We can shallow these up manually if we want to. Let's see. Take one or look. Yeah, I'm going to leave it 0.4. Then what I'll do is I'll just shallow it up by like 0.2 meters on the front and the back. So we'll just grab those edges there. Off snapping. 0.2. Same deal here. Negative 0.2. Alright, now we got an overhang. And we'll go ahead and we'll isolate this with the / key. Just go check it out. Yeah. We're going to apply another modifier, solidify, or a modifier. There's no other modifier on this right now. Solidify, and this is the point where I'm kind of just eyeballing. I'm kind of guessing what the roof dimension or the thickness of the roof is. And I'm going to guess it's either 6 or maybe 8 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and do a conversion here because, well, I live in the United States where we don't use metric, and I have to do that because I always think in inches, but I have to use meters or centimeters. So we're going to do inches to meters. 8 inches gives us 0.2032 meters. We'll go ahead and we'll punch that in there. Do even thickness. And we want to go upwards, not inwards. And we'll just kind of pull back from it a little bit and we'll take a look at it. Let's go ahead and let's see what 6 inches looks like. I think it's going to be 8, but we'll see what 6 looks like as well. I think we're going to roll with 6. It's really hard to decide, but I think we're going to go 6. 8 seems like it's a little big, and just due to the compression in the image, which if I flip over there, we will not leave you on this screen again. I promise. It's actively on my mind. It's a little blurry, so it makes it kind of hard, but it makes it look wider than it really is, so I think we're going to go 6 inches. Something like that. See? Told you I wouldn't leave you on that screen again. Alright. And since we have this done, even thickness is selected, everything else we can leave as default, we're going to apply that, isolate again. We do not need this underside of the roof here, so we're going to delete that. And we'll go ahead and go into edge select mode. I'm going to clean up all these edges here. I could easily just go in and do like a limited dissolve for everything, but I want to keep these edges here on the bottoms, and I would also delete these running vertically here at the peak. So we're just going to select all those and say dissolve edges. Yep, looks good. Looks nice and clean. Edge select mode or face select mode, split by selection. Do the same thing for the bottom. Select all these faces here. Split by selection. And I like to take a method, or do a method here that makes my job a little bit easier in the end. Instead of doing all my seams at the very last and doing my UVs then, I like to seam things out as I go. So we'll just go into X-ray mode here, and we're just going to select all these corner pieces. We'll do a Control E and do a mark seam. So what that's going to do is when we go to unwrap these to a UV sheet, it's going to break each one of these faces off into its own selection disconnect them basically. The top roof I will leave how it is because I want the texture to stay the same over the entire roof, since it's going to be a metal roof. And then for this bottom piece, I will isolate this one. And I prefer to cut the bottom of my roof a little bit different. Instead of leaving an angled cut like this, I'll actually go and I'll do custom there. Vertice select mode, and we'll hit K and we'll do a knife cut along the X and then down the Y. And you can leave that angled cut in there too, because it's going to technically triangulate like that anyways, so it doesn't really make sense to dissolve it. Do Y, X, and then we're just going to repeat the same thing on the other side. And for you that do not know, basically what I'm doing is when I'm hitting K to go into the knife cut mode here, clicking on the actual vertice to start my cut, and then I'm hitting the axis that I want to lock along. So if I hit Y right now, it'll lock to the Y axis. If I hit X, it's locking to the X. So that helps you make perfectly straight cuts. And the next thing I like to do here is I go in the face select mode, and I just like to click through all the faces when I do cuts like this, just to make sure that everything did get broken off how it should be and nothing screwy with the model, which that all looks good. Which just leaves me to, I'm going to the edge select mode, how do I want to seam this out? And I think what we're going to do, since this is a longer piece here, we don't want to make it longer than we have to, so we're just going to do the seams like that, and then of course the peaks as well. I'll mark those seams. There we go. That is the roof done. I gotta keep remembering to grab a drink every so often, or else my throat's gonna dry up and I won't be able to talk anymore. I don't normally talk this much when I'm modeling. Usually I don't talk at all when I'm modeling. Alright, what's next? Let's go ahead and do the corners of the buildings. So I have that already pre-made. So as I can zoom in or focus this piece here, we can see where the point is at here in the corner. There's a little bit of a gap so that it shows a little bit of this, and it's just a, rectangular piece. Keeps it nice and low poly. There's no sense of like making our mesh itself conform to the building. It just let it clip through, whatever. Keeps it nice and low poly. Yeah, I think I went with I'm gonna go with the piece that's not as wide. So I have two different styles of this piece. One's about half size. I'm gonna roll with that one, just because it makes things a little easier. Hell, we can just do this. We'll just do Shift S, snap the cursor. And we'll check our orientation here. I think we have to rotate it. Yep. Rotate it 90 degrees. There, now we have a corner piece that sits nice and flush. So what this is going to do is it's going to help break up the corners of the building, because if we go back over to our photo here and look, we can see all the trim on the building is white. So we have these white trim pieces on the edge, which is what we just put in. Yeah, we're not going to adjust those yet. We'll do all four at the same time. So same deal for each corner of the building. We're just going to move our cursor to that. We'll say Shift D, enter, and Shift S, move the cursor, rotate by 90 degrees, counterclockwise, and we're just going to do that all the way around for every corner. Alright, now that we have all four of them, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all four, hit Control J to join them together. So we'll go into edit mode now. Front view, X-ray, just grab those top vertices for all of them. And go out of edit mode, and I'm going to grab the bottom of the roof here and those as well and isolate them. And then basically what I'll do is I'll just go to one of the corners here, go back into edit mode, and we'll say G, hit Z so we lock to the Z axis, and we'll just start pulling these down. And we're just, yeah, we want to clip through that bottom piece of the roof just a little bit. There we go. Good enough. Perfect. Okay, now we got the edge trim on it, as well as the windows. Alright, now what we need to start doing is we need to start working on the deck for one, and then also the support structure underneath it. I'm trying to think of what I want to do for that. I have a couple different styles I could go for, because you see how it's sitting on a hill, so we got a little bit of gap, and then we got, they almost look like maybe either 4x4s or 6x6s underneath holding it up. So I think we're just going to start off by doing the deck, and then we'll go from there and we'll do everything else below that afterwards. And then we can't forget about that chimney either. We got to come back and do that chimney. Alright, so I'm going to leave you guys on this screen so I don't screw up and leave you on the other screen for another 10 minutes. Okay, Control C, Control V. I do like to keep a little deck piece here in my file, just so it makes it kind of easy. I can just kind of break it apart and modify it how I need it to be. Like I said, anything I can do to cut down on a little bit of time. Even though I'm not helping myself by doing this video, but you know, you're welcome, or maybe not. Yeah, I think edge should be fine. We'll verify that in a second. Basically what we want to do is we just want to align. I want to make sure we're butted up against the actual edge of the building here, so we're going to hide that. Yes, we are. Put that back on now. And make sure we grab all the pieces of the deck once again. And we're going to snap it vertically to the bottom of the building so that the door's sitting flush on it. And actually, I should have hid these again, or kept them hidden. I'm going to snap. Whoops. We need to set it to closest. Snap that edge to that edge of the building. Verify it. Yep. And then, just for spacing's sake, what we're going to do is we're going to take these planks here and select all of these. I'm just hitting it, hovering over them and hitting L, so I select all the faces. We'll delete those faces. Hit L on this one again, and then we'll say, not that, P, split by selection. Vertice select mode, grab the corner there, cursor, set origin to 3D cursor, and then I'm going to snap this piece over to that piece. And you'll see where I'm going with this here in a second. Grab the bottom side of our deck, the edge, and the top. Front facing mode, vertices, X-ray mode. Make sure we grab all those vertices, and we're just going to align this edge with snapping to the edge of the building. There we go. Alright, now back to what we just did. With this piece here, we're going to grab, if we can get it. There we go. We're going to grab that piece, and we had how many pieces in the center? We had, was it 5 pieces in the center? Consult my other file here. Yes. So we had 5 of those in the center, including the 2 on each side. So we need 7 of them total. So we're going to do an array modifier. Array. 7 of them. Zero that out. Yeah, there we go. And basically I'm just going to match it up as close as I can to this one here. And I do hold down shift, so it gives me a little bit more precision when I drag. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's got to be close, and that is close. I'll hit apply on the modifier. And basically what I can do now is I can just say Whoops, not that. L on that piece. L on that piece. Delete faces. And that gives me just those there in the center, which I can then join back to the rest of the frame. And now if we go back over to this here, we can see that we got a little bit of an extended area of the deck where that staircase comes off of, so we're going to have to do something for that. And basically to do that, I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to duplicate it, I think. I could go one of two ways. I could do a cut there, or I could just duplicate the piece. Looks like it's about half the width. I didn't change that again. Damn it. It looks like it's about half the width. Man, at this point, I might as well just redo the video. Maybe I just need to do more of these, and then I can get used to transitioning back and forth on the camera, which I absolutely never freaking do, ever. Ah, we did not... damn it, we forgot to adjust the width of the deck before we did this. Okay, we'll do this. It's fine. Everything is fixable. I'll say like 0.7 for that. Then we'll take and we'll select all of these. X-ray mode. There we go. Now the width's correct. Then we have... Actually, for this, we're going to go ahead and we're going to break these pieces off. And I already kind of know which ones I don't need, so we're going to I'll just get rid of those real quick. So I know I'm not going to need those. So we're going to grab the bottom piece, these two pieces, go into edit mode, select only those vertices. And we're going to keep edge select mode on for this because I want to snap to that piece right there like that, or kind of like that. There we go, just like that. Get rid of that because I don't need it anymore. Okay. And we have that split off now. We have the underside here, which we need to bring back a little bit. So we want to keep that seam in there. This makes it a bit easier to work with because this is just another piece for button up against it. We're not actually going to connect these, I don't think. Alright. Now we can go over to our other file and we can grab a set of stairs. It looks like it's going to be the taller set of stairs, so we'll just go ahead and grab that one. Paste in here. And we'll see if we got our width right by eyeballing it. Yeah, it's going to be pretty close. And I'm not going to get the spacing perfect on each side. I'm just eyeballing it here, and it looks like it's already pretty close. So I'm going to go back over and look at my image and kind of compare it. And actually there's, from what I can... No, there is a gap there, a little bit of a gap. We're going to close that gap up just a little bit. We'll do, I don't know, something like that. And then we'll grab these, and we'll make this piece... Let's make this easy and we'll join those back together again. Grab that, grab the top, edit mode, X-ray. Just grab all those. Go to top down view. And we'll just kind of close that gap up just a little bit. There we go. Okay. Starting to actually look like something now. Alright, and what we're gonna do next is we're going to, let's actually clean this up real quick. So we need to do, we'll try this method first. We'll select these vertices and hit J. Same on the back side. And we'll just check and make sure everything got split off. It did. We'll turn on vertice or vertex snapping. Turn that merge tool on there. We'll just snap them over. Whoops. That's not aligning right, is it? No, it is not. So somehow, something became tweaked on our model. And all four corners are not even. But I won't tell if you won't. So we'll just drag them one by one over there, because I don't really feel like dealing with trying to clean that up. If it was a lot bigger issue, I would do it, but we're talking about maybe a centimeter. Yeah, we're not going to worry about that. And actually, let's turn that off before I forget about it. Yeah, for whatever reason, sometimes models in Blender have the ability to become twisted for no apparent reason. And I've had several models do that before, with seemingly like not really any modification. Like, what did we do to this base piece here? We did a loop cut in the center. We drug along the axes for all four sides evenly. We didn't really do anything that would have skewed it, yet somehow at the end of the day it still ended up skewed a little bit. So, you know, whatever. It's cleaned up now. It's close enough. As long as we can't see any big gaps, we'll just check these windows back here while we're at it. Make sure there's no gap there. It looks like it's pretty flush to me, so whatever. Who cares? Not me. Alright. And I think I'm going to go with a more simple, pretty simple little framing idea for the base here. So I got a little pre-made thing here that I can pop in. So it's just two planks on either side of, I believe these are 4x4s, if I remember right. But before we do that, and I don't know why I deleted that bottom face, because we're just going to have to put that back in there. We're going to extend this down to the bottom of the deck so that it is flush, just like that. Take this here. We'll snap that to the bottom. Snap it to the edge. But then we're going to turn snapping off. And we're going to move it inwards just a little bit to give a little bit of depth to it. And we'll snap that. Whoops. Turn snapping back on. Snap that to the front. We're actually going to look at the front here because we want it to be sitting on that board a little bit. There. That way it's actually sitting on top of the board. And then all we need to do now is we just need to adjust it. So we'll leave that for now. We'll grab this end. And we're going to try to match. Whoops. Try to match the spacing. Preferably with snapping off so it doesn't do any weird snapping bullshit. Take a second to get a drink before my throat goes to shit. And then we're just going to split that one off. Split by selection. And we have 5 of these total. So we're going to go and we'll do an array once again. 5 of them. And we're just going to get this one close to the end here, like so. And basically, like I said before, I'm just trying to get it close. If it's off a little bit like it is now, where there's just barely a gap there, I don't really care. It's not anything you're ever going to notice. So I'll just go in the edit mode and I'll select this piece here specifically. Turn on snapping again with closest selected. And we'll snap it to the edge just like we have on the opposite end. And then boom, just like that. We got even spacing between all of our holes there once again. Alright. And let's go ahead and match the depth here. So we're just going to snap to the bottom of that. That way we're matching the bottom of our staircase. And I think in the real thing it's actually, it's maybe a little bit taller off the ground. Yeah, it's not too much taller off the ground. So we're just going to roll with this. There's no sense of adding another stair. Like I said, not trying to get exact. We're just trying to get close enough. And we'll go ahead and do all transforms. Mirror. Actually, before we do mirror on that, let's do this. Do Shift D. Actually, let's do one better. Let's step back and grab those pieces. And then we'll do Shift D. Because what we're going to do is we're going to stick one. I wonder if that's going to be enough if I just... Yeah, that's probably enough if I do one in the center. And actually, since it's the actual center, we can just say for the x-axis, 0. 0. Because they're both at the same spot. Like, the point doesn't move if we select them, right? So, doesn't make sense to use snapping for that one. And now, we'll do apply all transforms, add modifier, mirror. And we got to do it for each piece. Always miss that for some reason. And a little bit different on this one because we're actually going to have to go actually make, I didn't think this through. We're going to probably have to do some modification here. That's okay. We'll do this by hand. Go ahead and apply that. Select those vertices there, and we'll snap that to the front. Get on in there so we can see. We'll set our gap like we did before. That have to be perfect. Gives it character. And then what I'm going to do now, so the spacing is going to be a little bit jacked up here for this part. Yeah, we're just going to go ahead and we'll just, oops. I don't want to delete all of these. Apply the mirror. We're going to grab this one here. Split by selection. I'm going to try to figure out. So we got 1, 2, 3. Oh, let's do this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are actually wider. Okay. Okay, I know what I want to do. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll say 4 of them. So let's just see how this looks with 5. This is... Whoops, not 8. Okay, yeah, okay. we'll just do this. We're just going to try to align it to the edge the best we can by eyeballing it. Ah, that's pretty close. And then we will apply that modifier. So we got 4 there. And then the spacing here is going to get a little weird. We're going to do these by hand, so we'll split that one off and duplicate it. And then we'll do set origin to, let's just do geometry. And we'll turn on snapping again. We'll slide it forward to that. And then we will join these back together so we can move them all as one group. I'm going to have to modify that because I can't have that running up the center there because it's clipping into the stairs. But what I can do is I can move it over with snapping turned off. And we'll just kind of eyeball that. Looks pretty good. So it's going to be a little bit off center, but that's okay. And we're going to duplicate that piece there, and we'll turn snapping back on. We'll snap her into that position there. I just want to make sure we're snapped to the inside of the board, which we are. And then we're going to split this one off again. Duplicate it. Set origin to geometry. Move that forward to that edge. And join those back together again. Duplicate. It's hard to tell which edge you're on when you're zoomed out like that. But I think that's right. Yep. Okay, there we go. So the spacing's a little weird, obviously, on the front here. But it's actually like that on the real building if I go over and I look at the photo as well. So that's not going to bother me too much. So there we go. We got just a very simple little structure. I suppose we could even do boards going across if we wanted to. Yeah, maybe we'll take and we'll grab. We'll just duplicate this real quick. Isolate. Just do this really quickly here. Split by selection. We'll get rid of those because we don't need them. And we'll do object set origin to geometry. Rotate that. -90. And we'll snap to that edge. If I can get the right edge. There we go. Snap like that. We do not need faces on the end here, and we can also get rid of all of the seams because it's open on the ends and the top, so it's just going to unwrap directly either way. And we'll leave those sharps there, it ain't hurting anything. And we'll go ahead, let's just go ahead and butt this up against this piece there. And we'll do loop cut here, loop cut here. So then when we go in and we look at it like this, we'll just do Alt right click down there, do an Alt right click down there so it selects it all the way around. There we go. Now you can clearly tell it's a little bit off center, but there's not a lot we can do about that. I mean, I guess we could have technically extended that out, but we matched the spacing of these boards running along the bottom here. So we would have had to adjust the spacing of those to make it work. So yeah, it's not perfect. We could probably go back and do that better if we really wanted to, but is it really worth spending the time on? Not really. Alright, so let's go ahead and take these. We'll do just a quick, whoops, not that. Object set origin to geometry is what I wanted, not 3D cursor. Duplicate that piece. And we'll move that forward. Snap it into place there. Actually, what we should probably do is we should probably... we'll eyeball it. Screw it. We'll turn snapping off to make this a little easier. I'll just do one going across, just for structural. Not sure why. I might have screwed up on that. Yeah. Interesting that it just like disappears right there. Yeah, we'll do something like that. So we just got boards going kind of every which direction underneath here, but it gives it at least some sort of structural feel. Makes it a little cluttered looking up here when you get to the deck, but you know, whatever. It gives it detail. And there we go. But before we end this, we need to add the cherry on top, and that is, if we go over and we look at our photo here, we got a nice chimney sticking up off the roof. So let's go into our file here. Let's see what chimney we want to go with. I think we'll go with the one with the shroud here. Do that. I'll rotate this around 180 degrees. Then I'm gonna go over and eyeball the photo and try to figure out about the correct placement for this. And now we need to grab this bottom loop here and we need to pull that down into the roof like so. I'm just eyeballing the height of the chimney too. It's all joined together, so we'll just grab the top piece or these top vertices. Extend that up to about the height we think it is, and that looks pretty close. Maybe a little bit farther this way. So it's hard to tell from perspective, obviously. This perspective here is completely different. What if I flip over? And I think what it is it's maybe a little bit taller than it is in real life. And a lot of that may be to do with the proportions of the side windows not being exact, since we're just kind of eyeballing it. But I mean, overall, I think it's pretty freaking close. And some of it's, like I said, in Blender as well, camera perspective in Blender as opposed to camera perspective of the photo. So it's never going to be perfect, and I'm not going for, like I said before, not going for a one-to-one recreation here anyways, so I don't care if the dimensions are off just a little bit, as long as it's generally relatively the exact same size. If I was modeling, you know, an airport building and I wanted to do it completely off of the photo, of course I'm going to try to get those dimensions as close as I can. But when we're talking about this little cabin out by a lake, that maybe you're going to fly over and maybe you'll notice it. Yeah, this works. Alright, so really all we have left on this one is we just need to seam it out. And we already did the roof. The chimney is already done. A lot of these parts that I brought in already have been done. So really the only thing I need to put seams on, because literally everything here, you can see all the red seams. The windows have seams already. All these boards are seamed out. Some of them don't even need seams. Really the only thing I need to do is I need to put the seams on the corners here. Mark seams. And then, of course, we're going to go to our trim corner pieces here. Make sure those are all good. Those are already seamed out as well. And we do need to bring those down a little bit. So we'll go the front view, vertice select. Just kind of checking the item. Yeah, those look good. And they are open on the bottom. I could easily close those up. Obviously, I couldn't have them flush then. But, yeah, I'm not too worried about it. I could drag them down. I could put the face on there. But the chances of you really noticing that's very slim. So I tend to just leave them open on the bottom. Because, I mean, how many times are you actually going to be, like, looking at the building from this perspective anyways? Unless you want to check out the bottom details. Even then, you know, most of the time you're going to be looking at it like this. So you're never going to see those. But I don't like to leave gaps if, you know, I don't have to. Just in this case, since if I added the face there, it'd start flickering with this bottom face. I either have to drag it up or down. It makes more sense for me to just leave the bottom of it open and not even worry about that face. But anyways, we should have everything seamed out now, so we can have our little UV editor screen open here. Select all the pieces, and we are going to set scale. So Control A, apply scale. Hit tab on them. Hit A to select everything in face mode, or I don't think it actually matters. We're going to do unwrap, conformal. And I got to break that bottom piece off yet, so let's do that real quick. P, split by selection. And we'll do that again. Tab A. U for unwrap. Unwrap. There we go. That's a little bit better. Conformal unwrap. Then basically I'm just going through here and I'm looking for anything that looks weird. Anything that looked like it didn't unwrap right. These are fine. These are the edges of our staircase. Everything looks straight. I'm not seeing anything that's overlapping. I'm not seeing anything that's skewed. This is the inside of the chimney. This is fine here. That's unwrapping like it should. Just give it a quick scan. I think everything is good. Yes, everything looks good. So with everything selected, I'm going to go ahead and scale it up. Now if you're using just default Blender, you're not going to have this. This is a paid add-on for Blender. But if you do any form of modeling, this is definitely one of those plugins I wish I would have bought it a lot sooner. And this is UV Pack Master. So we're just going to have normalized islands turned on, rotation enabled, events, heuristics, and I set it to 10 seconds. And basically this is going to give me the absolute best pack I can get out of these UV islands to have the highest texel density. And we just let it do its magic. Let the 10 seconds elapse, and there we go. Now we have the best pack that we can get out of all these parts. And there you have it. There's a low poly cabin done in what? We did the video. It's been recording for an hour and 35 minutes, so basically an hour and a half. Obviously, if I wasn't talking my way through this, I could have done this a lot faster. If I hadn't screwed up on some stuff, I could have done it a lot faster. So that just goes to show, like, if you keep a Blender file with just like miscellaneous parts that you're gonna, use between multiple different buildings, light fixtures, windows, whatever, if you do something like that, you can really speed up your modeling workflow. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. If you made it through to this point, congratulations, and sorry for keeping you on the same screen so many times throughout the video. If I do this again, I will try not to do that. I don't think I'm going to be able to edit that out in post, but we'll see. Anyways, I'm not going to include painting in this video, but maybe if you guys like this video, when I do get to the point where I'm going to start painting these models, maybe I'll paint one of them on video and do a video kind of similar to this, how I paint in Substance Painter. So if you guys want to see something like that, leave me a comment down below. Make sure you throw a thumbs up on this video to let me know if you want me to continue doing videos like this into the future. I know there's been requests before about doing more like start to finish videos on an actual project, or basically going from zero on a project to complete. That would be an undertaking. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's a lot else to remember on a project that's already taken you several months to complete. But hey, you never know. Maybe we can do little videos like this in between. Anyways, thanks for watching. I have been your host today, RotorNut44, and my voice is done, so I'm ending the video here. Until next time, over and out.